Well, I think that the relationship between India and the United States is far more comprehensive than only the trade matters or the tariff matters. That have, of course, been very unkind, illegitimate, and irrational as far as India is concerned. President Trump somehow thought that India was a tariff king and imposed the highest tariffs on India for whatever reason. They were totally irrational, illegitimate, and unilateral. Therefore, India has discounted them completely. But as a mature country, India has followed a strategic patience with regard to the United States. And that is why, we have signed some critical minerals deal with them. We have been invited to be part of that. And the Quads, we recently had Secretary Rubio coming in here, try to sort out some of the problems. But the problem is multifold also at the same time. As we see that our mariners were killed, so during these attacks on four Indian ships by the United States Navy. Now, that is something that is unacceptable totally. India has condemned that, and it has been raised at different levels. Including with their charge d'affaires, who was called in twice, which is exceptional, and also Foreign Secretary EAM, External Affairs Minister, took it up with Secretary Rubio also. Now, I'm quite sure that Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, who have a very good personal relationship, will be meeting tomorrow, and there would be definitely all these issues will be taken care of. And I think that we will be seeing maybe a reset sort of a thing that might happen, or it might not. I mean, I don't know really what is going to be discussed, but there are so many things to be discussed. Now, as far as trade deal is concerned, I think that the problem is not the trade deal per se. The problem is India is worried about the imposition of Section 301 sanctions that may come up. Already some investigations have been carried out. So, what is the point in having a trade deal when the tariffs will come from back channel or Section 301? Therefore, all these things need to be addressed fully. And I think that in the discussion between Prime Minister Modi and India's outreach to Europe has been exceptional in recent times. We are also diversifying our relationships. We are not only banking on one country or another country. We want to have good relations with so many countries, and they are our partners. India is heading BRICS this year. We will be hosting the Quad meeting also. We had the foreign ministers. Let's see how it goes forward. The next one. So maybe Prime Minister Modi will invite President Trump for the Quad summit, and if he comes, that will be good. So I hope that we will be able to overcome some of these challenges. But there are many challenges that are implicit. That is one, the nature of President Trump. That is something you can't do anything about. Well, this is not different. This is something that President Trump in his first term, and the politics is very different than the reality very often. So President Trump in his first term thought, and he came with this in his mind, and he had this deep state which was not that very happy with the previous administration of Obama, and he wanted to undo what has Obama done. According to him, this deal did not have enough deterrence for the Iranians, which was basically the viewpoint of the Israelis. As you know, since 1979, both Iran, US, and Israel have been on a sort of a war path without actually going to war. Now, this was the first time that we saw the war happened in June 2025, and then second time in February 2026. Now, both these essentially have been done when the negotiations were nearly complete, and the Iran, for the first time, had agreed to many of the concessions that they had been wanting. Now, this is different in the sense is that today Iran has 440 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium. That has become the major issue now. How about to do about it also? Iran apparently on February 27th had agreed to allow both the IAEA and some say even some Americans independent to come and view their access to their power plants. They have repeatedly, in fact, mentioned that they don't want to go in for the weapon, but they don't want to give up their sovereign right to develop civil nuclear energy. So I think that quashing the JCPOA in 2018 was a precursor to Iranians acquiring a capacity of enriching uranium to the extent that they were within the reach of acquiring a weapon. So I hope that actually, if you were to just simply take the February 26th, 27th this year agreement, there little work is required to be done on that, and I believe that issue can be taken care of. Well, I think that I like to hope so. Being a former diplomat, I think that hope is everything. That is very important. I must say that since both Iranians as well as President Trump have said it that this has been electronically signed, virtually signed, and the physical signing will take place in Geneva on June 19th. It is supposed to have about 14 clauses. Most of them have come out, but the exact, I should say, the text we are not aware of. But it seems to have all the concerns of both sides taken on board, including apparently that of Israel. The most important thing that the United States was focusing on was opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and second was that U.S. Insisted, and so does Israel, that Iran will not become a nuclear power state, which means what the civilian nuclear cooperation, as per provided under the NPT and the IAEA, may be allowed or will continue to be done as the right of every sovereign country. But the weaponization of it is something that they will not allow. In addition, of course, there has been a discussion on release of the frozen funds. Apparently, the 50% are going to be done, then reparations. So there are all these issues have been taken care of, but nothing is going to be resolved because it is a memorandum of understanding between the two sides. So by Friday, we'll see already ships have started moving, including that of an Indian ship, was the first one to leave the Hormuz this morning, I believe, or yesterday. So I think that this is something we'll have to watch carefully. And of course, world has heaved a sigh of relief by seeing that at last this war is coming to an end. But I always believe that the Israelis are not happy about it, about this deal, and especially with regard to Lebanon and Hezbollah, as well as the Iranian capability and the potential of acquiring the weapon once again. So these are some things that might provoke them at time, and they might derail the whole deal at going forward. Therefore, the Iranians have been asking both Russia, China, as well as United States to prevail upon Israel so that it does not derail the deal. Well, I think that Israel, lives within the security threats all the time. It creates the situation and then lives through it and then presumes that everybody is against them. Now, obviously, there have been enough bad blood. There is a distrust between Iran. Nobody is a saint here, as we know. So, therefore, it is very obvious that they have these suffering from these kind of complexities, which are not easy to be uprooted because for every country, it is very important to ensure its security. Now, the way it is being projected, way it is being understood, the way the deep state plays out, these things, they all impinge on the overall global scenario as well as the bilaterally how things are going to play out. So I believe that this is something achievement as far as you will say. It depends on how you look at it. For the Iranians, for the rest of the world, they know, in fact, nothing much has been achieved. For the Americans, yes, a change of regime from father to son. And apparently, they have come here, they have tried to show off their force, they are the powerful army, but they have not achieved their physical objectives because they had not probably factored that Iran was so well prepared to counter the attack this time, as well as it has acquired the capacity and the strategy to attack the Gulf countries. They had not factored that in. So the whole world has started pressuring. They have been threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, but everybody thought they will not. Or even if they did, we could take it out. It did not happen. So they had to come to the table. Every war has to come to an end at the end of the day. Iran has been a very sanctioned country for nearly 40 years, and they have survived. The problem is the secondary sanctions that the United States imposed, that's called CAATSA. They created problems for countries like India also. And therefore, over time, we had to reduce import of the Iranian crude to virtually zero, in fact. But our trade continues with them in the areas that are permitted. So once we have these sanctions lifted, which should be lifted actually, it will be quite possible. And I was very encouraged to listen to J.D. Vance and his statement. He said if everything goes well, then Iran could be integrated into the Western economies, which is what they also wanted. Actually, the youth in Iran wants to be integrated with the rest of the world. But the path chosen by both US and Israel actually consolidated everybody together to fight for the survival of their country in Iran. Now, that is why this is backfired. So I believe that sanctions, once they're lifted, it will be good for us. India has been always saying that we have very important relationship with Iran. As you know, because of that relationship, because of the understandings that we have, India was one of the first countries to get its ships out. They sailed through the Hormuz in the beginning, and now yesterday, as I told you, the first ship to cross was an Indian ship with the LNG that was coming here for the Petronet. So we have still got about 13, 14 ships there. They should be moving now. And they've been there for weeks. More maximum number of Marines who've been killed in this war have been Indian. And therefore, it is a very major challenge for India. Secondly, during the Karsa sanctions, we had to forego the control and management of the Chabahar port, which is very crucial for us for our outreach to Afghanistan as well as to Central Asia. So I think that once these sanctions are lifted, Iran used to supply us 12% of our crude requirements, and also it has tremendous amount of gas. So I guess that all those relationships will begin. India will also partake in the construction, reconstruction in Iran, and the relationship could move forward. But I hope that there will be, as proverbially we say, there are too many slips between the cup and the lip. So we'll have to see how it eventually plays out. These are early days, but we can only keep our hopes alive.